Hey guys, we are here for day, is it 12? Day 12. I messed up yesterday and said day 10. Today is day 12 of Esperanza Rising. And yesterday, Esperanza and the family had made it to California. They were at a camp, and Esperanza was realizing how spoiled she really had been all of her life. Her job was going to be to help watch the babies while everybody else worked. And she was realizing that living conditions in camps are not always fantastic. Okay. "Do you know how to change a diaper?" asked Esperanza when they got back to the cabin. "Certainly," said Isabel. "I will change them and you can rinse out the diapers. We need to do some laundry, too." Esperanza watched as the young girl laid the babies down one at a time, unpinned their diapers, wiped their bottoms clean, and pinned on fresh diapers. Isabel handed Esperanza the smelly bundles and said, "Take them to the toilets and dump them, and I'll fill the wash tub." Esperanza held them at arm's length and almost ran to the toilets. Several more onion trucks passed by, their smell accosting her eyes and nose as much as the diapers. By the time she got back, Isabel had already filled 2 wash tubs with water from an outside pipe and was swirling soap around in one of them. A washboard was propped inside. Esperanza went to the wash tub and hesitated, staring into the water. Bits of onion skins floated on the surface of the soapy water. She held a corner of one of the diapers, lightly dipping it in and out of the water, her hand never getting wet. After a few seconds, she gingerly lifted the diaper from the water. "Now what?" she said. "Esperanza, you scrubbed them, like this." Isabel walked over, took the diapers, and plunged them into the water up to her elbows. The water quickly became murky. She rubbed the diapers with soap, vigorously scrubbed them back and forth on the washboard, and wrung them out. Then she transferred them to the next tub, rinsing and wringing again. Isabel shook out the clean diapers and hung them on the line stretched between the chinaberry and mulberry trees. Then she started on the clothes. Esperanza was amazed. She had never washed anything in her life, and Isabel, who was only 8 years old, made it look so easy. Puzzled, Isabel looked at Esperanza. "Don't you know how to wash clothes?" "Well, Hortensia took everything out to the laundry quarters, and the servants, they always—" She looked at Isabel and shook her head no. Isabel's eyes got bigger and she looked worried. "Esperanza, when I go to school next week, you will be here alone with the babies and will have to do the laundry." Esperanza took a deep breath and said weakly, "I can learn. And later today you must sweep the platform. You do know how to sweep." "Of course," said Esperanza. She had seen people sweep many times. Many times, she assured herself. Besides, she was already too embarrassed about the washing to admit anything else to Isabel. Isabel sat with the babies while Esperanza went to sweep the platform. The camp was quiet, and even though it was late in the day, the sun was unrelenting. She retrieved the broom and stepped onto the wooden floor. Dried and brittle onion skins were everywhere. In her entire life, Esperanza had never held a broom in her hand. But she had seen Hortensia sweep, and she tried to visualize the memory. It couldn't possibly be that hard. She put both hands near the middle of the broomstick and moved it back and forth. It swung wildly. The motion seemed awkward, and the fine dirt on the wooden planks lifted into a cloud. Onion jackets flew into the air instead of gathering together in a neat pile like Hortensia's. Esperanza's elbows did not know what to do, neither did her arms. She felt streams of perspiration sliding down her neck. She stopped for a moment and stared at the broom as if willing it to behave. Determined, she tried again. She hadn't noticed that several trucks were already unloading workers nearby. Then she heard it. First a small tittering, and then louder. She turned around. A group of women were laughing at her, and in the middle of the group was Marta, pointing. Okay, I'm going to see if I can pronounce this correctly. La Cenicienta, Cinderella, she laughed. Burning with humiliation, Esperanza dropped the broom and ran back to the cabin. In her room, she sat on the edge of the cot, her face flushed again at the thought of the ridicule. She was still sitting there, staring at the wall, when Isabel found her. I said I could work. I told Mama I could help, but I could not even wash clothes or sweep a floor. Does the whole camp know? Isabel sat down on the bed next to her and patted her back. Yes. Esperanza groaned. I will never be able to show my face. She put her head in her hands until she heard someone else come into the room. Esperanza looked up to see Miguel, holding a broom and a dustpan, but he wasn't laughing. She looked down and bit her lip so she wouldn't cry in front of him. He shut the door and then stood in front of her and said, How would you know how to sweep a floor? The only thing you ever learned was how to give orders. This is not your fault, Anza. Look at me. She looked up. Pay attention, his face serious. You hold the broom like this. One hand here and the other here. Esperanza watched. Then you push like this, or pull it towards you like this. Here, you try, he said, holding out the broom. Slowly, Esperanza got up and took the broom from him. He positioned his hands on the handle. She tried to copy him, but her movements were too big. Smaller strokes, said Miguel, coaching, and sweep all in one direction. She did as he said. Now, when you get all the dirt into a pile, you hold the broom down here, near the bottom, and push the dirt into the pan. Esperanza collected the dirt. See, you can do it. Miguel raised his thick eyebrows and smiled. Someday, you just might make a very good servant. Isabel giggled. Esperanza could not yet find humor in the situation. Somberly, she said, Thank you, Miguel. He grinned and bowed. At your service, mi reina. Remember, that means my queen. But this time his voice was kind. She remembered that he had gone to look for work at the railroad. Did you get a job? His smile faded. He put his hands in his pockets and shrugged his shoulders. It is frustrating. I can fix any engine, but they will only hire Mexicans to lay track and dig ditches, not as mechanics. I've decided to work in the fields until I can convince someone to give me a chance. Esperanza nodded. After he left the room, Isabel said, He calls you mi reina. Will you tell me about your life as a queen? Esperanza sat on the mattress and patted the spot next to her. Isabel sat down. Isabel, I will tell you all about how I used to live. About parties and private school and beautiful dresses. I will even show you the beautiful doll my papa bought me. If you will teach me how to pin diapers, how to wash, and... Isabel interrupted her. But that is so easy. Esperanza stood up and carefully practiced with the broom. It is not easy for me. Okay, so that's the end of the chapter Onions. The next chapter that we read will be called Almonds. So your challenge for today is think about something that you don't know how to do, that other people might think is easy. So maybe you're not really good at basketball, but you have a friend who is. Think about how you would feel not being able to do something that somebody else considers to be easy, and what steps you might have to go through to try to learn to do that skill. That's basically what Esperanza is doing. So the challenge question is, what is something you are not good at, and what might you have to do in order to learn that skill? Talk to you guys tomorrow.